Hello, this is your host Akhil Navluri, and welcome to a brand new episode of the TechoSpace podcast. So, joining me today for this podcast episode happens to be a leader. So, I'm very much privileged and honored to have him here for the same. And this gentleman has an experience of managing multiple teams across multiple geographies. Now, having said that, he happens to be the vice president and the global delivery head of Collab Partners. Now, giving a brief about Collab Partners, it is an organization which happens to be a leader in the area of digital transformation, which provides a complete suite of services in strategy design, development, testing, and deployment of digital services. Now, also mentioning about him, this gentleman is based out of Hyderabad, India. So it gives me a huge honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Shrikant Mishra to this podcast episode. And Shrikant, I must say, I'm very much delighted and excited to be interacting with you for this podcast initiative. So, how are you and how are things at your end?
Hey Akhil, thanks for ending this. Yeah, I think it's great. I'm good, doing good, and yeah, thanks for me having here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. The weather here seems to be chilling out here. Actually, I would say because it's just going to
Yeah,
towards the winter. So yeah, the
yes,
temperature is just going down. That's what I could say. Yeah.
correct.
All
That's
right.
right.
All right, Shrikant. So without any further ado, Shrikant, let's kick off with the podcast. So, Shrikant, I'm very much curious to know, like, what was your journey like in the tech industry, and what got you into a low-code, no-code platform like Pega?
So thanks Akhil for having me here. If you talk about me, yeah, I'm Shrikant Mishra. People call me Shri as well. I have more than 2 decades of IT experience, and I think around 6 to 8 year in the beginning of my career, I spent in various technical role, being a developer, senior developer, lead, and so on and so forth. I think I spend for most of the companies which were either into the product or services, and some of them are Verizon, Entity Data, and so on. Then I think I start moved into the leadership role. I picked the leadership role where I started working with the customers slowly as a PM and then SPM, and then that's where my journey started as a leadership role. And I think during this more than 10 year of experience, probably in the leadership roles where I'm working with the various clients across the globe, teams across the globe, and for various digital transformation journey where I'm helping them using low code, no code platform. So when I say low code, no code platform, it is not only Pega. For me, I think we are working for various low code, no code. We're primarily into Pega. Then we have also Appian, OutSystem, and in fact Microsoft Power Automate and so on, right? So I think some of these platform which I have personally experienced in my career, and then now I'm supporting the teams and then customer across the globe for their journeys. And yeah, I think as you already mentioned, I'm with Collab Partners and as a VP and global delivery head for their services, and where I'm helping our various customers and client partners on their digital transformation journey. So I think that's a little brief about my experience and journey so far. Yeah,
Perfect, perfect, Shrikant. That sums it all. So,
yeah.
Shrikant, now, like, I am, like, you just gave me a complete, a spotlight into, like, how was your journey, and you seem to be having a lot of technical experience. So, Shrikant, like, can you just, tell me, like, what is the differentiating factor that you find with respect to to the all the technical programs, or let's say the things like, well, let's say with all the codes that you started in the beginning of your career with that of the, low code, no code platforms. Like it could be like, the technologies like .NET, and how do you compare .NET with respect to the low code no code platforms?
Well, I think yeah, that's interesting because yeah, I think being a developer, I have played my hands across .NET, Linux, and some of these open source technologies before, probably 2 decades back. And there is a difference because if you pick up non-low code platform, which is probably a plain Java or plain .NET, or even you talk about Angular and so on, right? They are built for a different purposes where let's talk about if we talk about Angular or you talk about .NET anything, right? So we need to basically have their proper designs, and then basically think about development, then implementation, deployment, and all. And it takes time because we don't have any shortcut there where option for configuration, option for changing the things, all that is basically not there. So I think while if we shift our move to the low code, no code platform, we have a lot of these options already inbuilt, which means you can configure certain things. You can make sure your at least 50 to 60% of your work which is supposed to happen via coding is already done in the platform. So that's the basically a seamless integration and the capability which these low code, no code platform actually gives us, right? So and then another, I think, important second point probably I would like to highlight is why low code, no code platform is so famous nowadays is because it's very easy and very easy to basically build on. Like if somebody doesn't know even full coding concepts and basically how to use, if they know at least the basic about that platform, they can very well use those tools and then basically build the platform or services, right? And the third very important thing is if I talk for the previous places where it was, as I said, a lot of time for collaborating, compiling the code, then basically promoting it to the servers, right, or the productions. But here in this, it's all integrated, seamless integrated platform where it's just a button click and then your code will be actually moved to the productions, right? So I think that's the basically a power of these low code, no code platforms. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, Shrikant. So, like, I can just relate to this because even I was part of a low-code, no-code platform, which was Appian in my in my former
Oh, that's
company, and
great.
I'm very much sure about the thing. I very much acquainted with the thing, where we have all this drag and drop options, and it's more
Sure.
about filling the logic rather than doing
Right.
piles of code. As far as I can
Correct.
totally understand this. Now, Shrikant, now I mean, I think we would just go more further into the question that I've
Sure.
asked you. So I was asking a differentiating factor with respect to the technology like .NET and a low-code, no-code platform. But I just wanted to understand, Shrikant, like, why do you still feel a low-code, no-code platform like Pega is still preferred in the marketplace despite having all other niche technologies and all other popular technologies? So what could be the reason for that?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, people, I think for people who are already working on Pega, they know the power of Pega. But for me, I think it's more than a 10 years or 8 to 10 year where I spend my journey in the Pega and working with the customers. So I think first of all, why low code, no code is preferred. I think I summarized in the previous talk a point, but I think I want to mention it again. It's basically why preferred option is for businesses across the globe for many decades. It's not just probably a decade, it's many decades, it's already there, but it was not very famous, right? First thing is because these tools are meant for people who either do not know or how to code, or basically they don't know, or they don't have a time basically how fast they can do the coding, right? So these are the two primary reasons this low code, no code platform has emerged as a leader now. If we talk about Pega, I think Pega is, yes, it's very good tool in if we talk about LCNC. And I think why it is powerful and useful is because for many years, right? It's not just matter of 2 or 3 years, it's for many years and decades it's there in the industry. So Pega, because Pega offers organizations or companies to streamline their processes, right? It automates the repetitive task. So I just said if we talk about general insurance case, right, where normally we get a lot of quotes and then underwriter has to spend time on basically reviewing that in the morning, then basically updating those and then sending back for the next level of approval. All that is a repetitive task. But if you talk about Pega as a, let's say, low code no platform, and if you are using that for that particular use case, it basically picks up some of those repetitive tasks can be done in the night. When the morning underwriter comes, basically they will see which is already done, which they need to spend for ideally for 5 to 6 hours every day, right? So one is, I think it's very fast to do. It is very fast to automate the processes and then helping and saving the time. And the third is, I think it's very important because now even the Pega has comes with the latest features where it actually improves the customer experiences. So a lot of work is being done into the front end UI part of the Pega screens, right? So that's one. And then I think very important thing I just said, I think I mentioned in the previous point as well, is very quick to the market, right? So you don't need to wait for 6 months or 8 months for development and then deploy. You can basically create your MVP just in 4 weeks, right? That's what low code, no code platform means is like if customer is uncertain whether they need to use it or not to use it, basically we can just do some kind of MVPs, which is shortened in nature. We can deploy into the production and then customer will sense it whether it is working well, and then basically we can continuously improvise. So that's basically a power of this low code, no code, and then of course Pega is one of that tool into that. Yeah,
Perfect, Shrikant. So like it gives like a complete sense of, a breath of fresh air for all the people who are part of the insurance companies where,
correct,
their thing is their requirements are just done in a GIF.
correct.
That's what I could have, understood throughout the
Absolutely.
conversation that we were having.
Yeah,
So Shrikant, now I'm going to, pitch out a question to you, from the behalf of all the freshers who are listening out to this podcast episode. So
sure,
now,
sure.
vouching for them, I just wanted to understand, Shrikant, do you suggest these low code, no code platforms to all the freshers who are starting out fresh in the, tech space or the tech industry?
That's interesting. But again, see, I think as a leader, I normally, so there are two things actually, two factors for it. As a leader, normally what we do is, right, when let's say a project comes or programs comes from a customer or probably the sales, right? They say, okay, we are trying to aim this particular program. So definitely we hire set of people from market, or we probably look into the organization whether we have a set of skills available, right? So when we, let's see if we have a set of new people in the organization, right? And or even if we are hiring, so we look two things. One is where the interest goes for those guys, because we just can't say that okay, you go to low code or you do in Java or you do in .NET. Basically we look the talent based on their preference and skills, because if we enforce the people, okay, you learn low code and then do, sometimes they will fail, because if they are interested into business, they will not be focused on this customization and coding. So what we do, I mean, as a leader, what normally I suggest is when I talk to those fresh graduate are engineers, I think I try to seek their preference as well as the interest towards the technology and towards the career goal where they want to, right? So if somebody says, okay, I really want to do something on business, then for them basically business, because business will work across the technology, even low code basically outside low code as well, right? So they need to basically go through some of the functional training. But if somebody says, okay, I'm really good, I don't want to code too much, but I really want to be in the tech space or as a developer or as DET, right? Then for them, yes, low code, no code platform is the preferred option, because there they don't need to spend too much time on training and learning other thing. What they need to know is the basic OOPS concept, and most of the time they already learned into their career, right? During the BTech
Exactly.
or IIT or so over, right? So if they know the basic OOPS concept and some part of the coding, either using .NET or Java and so on, they can very well be actually good for low code. They can just learn the basic training, which normally we provide as an organization to make them success, and then basically we advise them further. So I think that's how it goes. It's not that we advise them, okay, you go and pick up. Rather, we take the advices, collective decision, and then basically we advise fresher. So I think that's pretty much, I think, is about taking these decisions, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, Shrikant. So like you were just giving me a a clear brief about, when
Yeah.
someone is interested in a certain thing, you group them accordingly. And and that grouping also matches with the requirement that the company is looking forward for. Right. So, like,
Right.
I think you must have given me, I think in our, like, one of our discussions also, you must have earlier mentioned me that, when you're good in something, you need to try that rather than, just going into something. It's good to go the extra mile, but sometimes when the requirement is such, you need to be according to the requirement.
Correct.
So, So that completely is a point that needs to be noted by the freshers out there
Yes,
listening to this. So that's
right.
that's clear idea, because and this gives me a reminiscence about my earlier years in my former company, in one of the
Nice.
startups which I worked in. So I just exactly went to that era where I was made to learn a lot of new things, because I came from a non-technical background myself
Okay.
earlier.
Okay.
So I totally understand, where the things are, and that's the things what your organization is doing, Shrikant. That's really remarkable, and you're
Yeah.
identifying the best of best talent in the tech space. So I mean, way to go for that. So now, Shrikant, now, I mean, I know, we have particularly covered this particular point in the introduction itself, where I just told, and I'm pretty much aware of the fact that you have an experience of managing multiple teams across multiple geographies. So having said that, Shrikant, I just wanted to understand this, like what was your high moment and what were the challenges that you have encountered when you were managing all those teams together?
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting for a leader because, yeah, if I recall, probably in this point, just said, uh, I think not in the first part of my career because there I was more into the individual contributor kind of roles, where working as a dev or senior dev, and then slowly, right? So it was like not a challenge because most of the time your team will sit together and then you will work and then you will basically close your task and then move on. But I think the actual challenge start when you basically become a leader and then you have to work across the globe, right? So I think for me, the high point, if I have to mention, I think I will go to the challenge later. Probably I would like to mention about what
Yeah,
went well actually for me in over the decade now. Uh, I think the one important thing is what I observed, as you say, my role is not only here, even in my previous organizations where I had to lead the team across globe. And I think if I recall, probably for one of the team, for one of the insurance customer where we were dealing about was in UK, then Australia, and then India, and some part in the Hong Kong as well, right? So now if I say about that, four geos coverage and then basically more than 100 people managing and sitting across in one, and because I can't travel all four geos almost every
yeah,
month, right?
exactly.
So for me, I think the good part, what has really gone well there is about trust and the communication. Because as a leader, I think this is probably I think the very simple message is be transparent, and I think have open communication to the team, because the more you share, the more you connect. I think that's how you basically start building the trust and bonding with the team. So I think I just said it was more than 100 people, and I used to talk and work with them, and the I haven't seen much issues because of course there were some operation issue which I will mention it, but I think the key thing was the great communication and trust. And I think the team were having that bonding, and then it was very easy to basically serve our customer and basically meet the outcome for the customer. So I think that was very good thing I probably observed in my 6 to 8 years of this global roles, right, which I have handled. Uh, if I talk about the low moment, I would not call it as a low moment because that's very common issues. We call it as normally the operational issue in the governance side. The
Yep.
operational issues, I will tell you probably one example where we were working for one of the, I just said, the same insurance customer, right? I think it was primarily the issue were between Australia and India. I can just relate it to that.
Yeah,
What were happening is some part of the team were in the Australia, and of course, major 80 or 90% you will have always in offshore, right? So what used to happen is sometimes, because these two are the different time zones and very less time to talk, right?
right.
No proper handshaking before basically Australia team closes the day. So what were happening is, because it was all support and almost 40 to 50 people were supporting that program, and then if all of a sudden Australia goes off and now offshore has to pick up, sometimes they don't know what to basically pick up, what is the priority for the day. So that's what I
Absolutely.
call in
Yeah,
my term is, as a leader, we have to make sure they properly handshake together before one
exactly.
team goes off and another team picks up. So I think there were some operational issues in that team, but I think I just said it's all the communication. I think how we bridge that communication gaps and basically how we make sure those teams works together and then have a great trust. So I think there were a lot of work, background work which has been done for those cases, but I think that slightly for 1 or 2 week it was a low moment for a team where we were struggling to streamline the processes and so on. Yeah.
So, as they say, Shrikant, good things take time. So probably that was the
Yeah.
same thing that was, reflected to your team in a
Yeah.
situation like that, where there was no proper handshaking moment.
Correct.
So, Shrikant, just make me understand this here. Like you were mentioning about the geographies between India and Australia. So, which domain was that confined to? Was it like insurance, law, or was it like with respect to any financial point of view? Like where exactly did that rest up to?
Well, I think that was the insurance team. I won't mention the customer name here, but I
Yeah, yeah.
think that was one. I mean, in fact, there were two programs, similar kind of a situation, one for insurance, one for government. But I think I mean, those were the two segment I think we primarily managed for the Australia that time. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect, Shrikant. So, Shrikant, before we conclude our podcast session, now let's head off to the future. Like let's time travel to the future. So this question would come on the lines of that. So, Shrikant, like where do you think is the tech industry focused for the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I think 2 to 3 year is very short. Probably I would say 6 to 8 year or 10 year window, which normally we look right as a leader where we are heading. Of course, 2 to 3 year is a very short term for organizations, normally when we put our strategy and planning. But I think as industry leader and based on my experience, I just said more than 2 year, what I see is yes, there were slowdown that I think everybody is agreeing in over the last 2 to 3 year. We are going through a global slowdown. But I think we are coming back to track and based on the recent market and research, I think grow is expected around, I think around 350, 360 billion by 2030. That is what I think is US market and the rest of the world is talking about, primarily in the IT sector. And I think due to these numbers, we see the hirings and the employments and the rest of the opportunities will be generated, which is almost twice in the next 5 years. That's what the industry leaders are talking about, right? Uh, is about the industry. But if we talk about primarily where the focus will be for this industry, I think we talk about low code, no code platform. Yes, this will be always there, the key focus for most of the companies. And then beside to that, I think the new things which I think we are seeing the buzz of AI in the innovation space, right? So I think that is going to rule the world probably for next 4 to 5 years, where a lot of things is going to optimize, change, and then basically a process will be taken in place, right? So I think if we talk about the number again for PwC, if I was reading, I think sometimes back, and PwC research is saying by 2030, I think probably the AI space itself is taking around USD 15 to 16 trillion, right? So that's a big number to basically target it for. So for each of us, I think if we talk about in general, there are a lot of potential to grow and pick up. And I think for the people who are there in the IT and especially in the tech space, I think key thing is about these numbers. And I think a lot of focus to be done between the AI because that's the key area which I think every company is focusing about for investment, right? So I think that's the summary I would like to emphasize there.
It has already reached the shores of the IT, but now it's going to, come up with a lot of wonders for the following years. And it's like a hotcake in the industry and a big thing that people are talking about. And as far as I see it, a lot of low code, no code technologies are also integrating AI. I mean, their entire thing with AI because the AI excellence is complementing with
Yes.
with theirs. So right. So So, Shrikant, I must say I really had a great time interacting, and it was lovely collaborating with you for this podcast initiative. Thank you for making time and being available. I mean, as I just mentioned out, you're a leader. I have learned a lot from you. The main thing that that intrigued me during the entire session of ours was the way you are handling multiple teams, like let's say 100 people and across multiple regions. So, Shrikant, thank you so much for being part of this podcast episode.
Thank you so much, Shakil, for having me here. Yeah, I think it was same here. Nice talking, nice knowing you, and yeah, we'd love to talk more and more as we move forward.
Thank you, Shrikant. So, listeners, before we conclude our podcast episode, so this is an open request to all the industry leaders out there who are listening to my podcast. So, if you have any interesting story or any key useful insights which you would like to share through my podcast episode, you could reach out to my email ID, that is akhil.navluri55@gmail.com. Or if you want to reach out to my WhatsApp number, you can go to the description box in my profile page of my podcast. So this is your host Akhil Navluri. We will be back with another podcast episode very soon with another brand new industry leader. So till then, keep listening. Take care. Goodbye. Stay tuned. Stay safe and au revoir. Thank you.